On January 28, 2022, over 1,000 wargamers would enter the Rio Convention Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. They would be participating in a tabletop wargaming convention known as the Las Vegas Open, or LVO. The largest event there, at over 700 players, was the championship tournament. The game is Warhammer 40,000. Created across the pond in 1987 by a company called Games Workshop. It is played by 2 opponents on a 5-foot by about 4-foot table. There are no computers, TVs, or game systems. The game is played with physical miniatures, or armies, that each player builds and prepares beforehand. The table comes equipped with miniatures of ruined buildings, trees. These are known as terrain. The terrain is there to create unique board layouts and visually interesting locations for the battles. Players take turns moving models and interacting with their opponent's army through casting spells, shooting guns, and engaging in hand-to-hand combat. Apart from the models, the tools used to interact with the game are tape measures, 6-sided dice, books for rules, and of course, your good old-fashioned noggin. That's right, this is a game that will test your
head and your mind and your brain, too.
But not everyone starts right at the tabletop. There are many aspects to Warhammer 40,000 that can be simplified to 3 main categories: the game, the hobby, and the universe. All of these categories feed into each other and can be enjoyed entirely on their own. But to get to the game table, one must start at the hobby table. The first stage of hobbying is buying. Yes, buying. Then building, then painting. There are many steps to each of these stages, and you can do all of them or pick the ones you want. It is your hobby after all. You can build, play a game, go back to painting, etc. Wait. Build and paint?
Yep.
Many people spend most or all of their time in the hobby building and painting. And there are plenty of Instagram accounts full of beautiful miniatures to prove it. Creativity, customization, and a sense of uniqueness can all be had in this stage. Now would be a good time to talk about the books in the third aspect of the hobby, the universe. This is where the story happens, much like how there's a Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe or a DC universe. The different stories all interconnect and drive into a singular narrative. There are books, a lot of them. Games Workshop started a streaming service in 2021. Go figure. Also, did you know that the 40,000 in the game's name refers to the year? 40,000 years in the future. And so the story feeds back into the game and gives it context, driving what models are produced and vice versa. And the Codex is a type of book that every faction has. While about half of it is story, the other half contains rules for playing the game. Rules for models that represent warriors. They have weapons and stat lines. A Space Marine's gun, called a bolter, has a middling strength, making it easier to wound a small enemy and harder to dent a big one. A group of them forms a unit. Units are given point values, and players craft a list of units from their faction to comprise their army. These very armies are the ones taken to games at your friend's house or tournament events like the Las Vegas Open. Points are scored for holding certain areas on the table called objectives, and by destroying certain units or models from your opponent's army. After 5 turns, the victor is determined. A typical gameplay loop involves a player taking what they've learned from the game, looking at their army list, seeing what needs changed, and then changing it up. If they need to, they could add new models to their army, which takes them back to building and painting some more, and the cycle continues. But why do people love it so much? Why does it become a lifestyle instead of just a hobby to these people? Like me. It's definitely the real-life friends you make at the tabletop. It's the appreciation of the work and creativity that others have put into the hobby. And this is true for any tabletop miniature game. There are plenty of different ones out there. It just happens that Warhammer is the biggest game in the genre right now. And maybe you've seen this company's growth in the stock market. Maybe you've watched one of the interviews where Henry Cavill talks about his interest in the game.
Warhammer 40,000, that is my jam.
What's your army at the moment?
Custodes.
Ah,
yeah.
I'm going Necrons next
Necrons?
year.
Wait, oh.
Okay, all right,
Cool.
Were you
Shall we-
into?
Yes.
Were
great.
you into this before, or is
Oh,
this
yeah.
a new thing?
Let's just assume that anything nerdy I've been doing for a good 30
Oh wow,
years.
we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
It certainly had the gaming community excited. No matter which way you cut it, the truth is, some of the best friends I have, I've met through this hobby. And in the end, it's all about the people and the relationships that are built. So unplug, drag a brush across some miniatures, and take a mortgage out on your house. It's Warhammer time.